Okay, before we dive into the results from the test I just did, I want to quickly say something about testing. If you're going to go out and do a Vo2 Max test, or do any type of test for that matter, make sure you're actually going to use the results from that test to benefit your training. There's no point in going out and doing tests if you're not actually going to use the data. It's not about collecting numbers, it's about actually using them to inform your training and make better decisions. All right, hopping into the test results. So for the first 20-second all-out seated sprint, I did 641 watts. For the 3-minute effort, I managed to do 347 watts. And for the 12-minute effort, I was only able to average 282 watts. So I plugged these numbers into the software and let the analysis run. The first thing we see from the analysis is this overview dashboard. Each of these dials represents one part of my physiology, basically a snapshot of how my body is performing right now. Starting in the top left, we have my Vo2 Max, which shows the size of my aerobic engine, or how much oxygen I can actually use during exercise. Next, my VLamax. That's my glycolytic power. It reflects how strong my anaerobic system is. A higher number means I can produce a lot of power quickly, but it also means I burn through fuel faster and fatigue sooner. Then we have my anaerobic threshold, which is the balance point between where lactate production and clearance are in equilibrium. It's essentially the highest power I can sustain without gradually flooding with fatigue. Then we have fat max at 171 watts. That's where I'm going to be burning the most amount of fat for energy per hour. And below that, we have available glycogen, which tells me roughly how much stored fuel I have to work with before depletion. And last but not least, we have LT1, or the first lactate turn point. All of these together paint the bigger picture of how my aerobic and anaerobic systems interact. If we dive deeper into the graphs, we can see what these numbers actually mean. This first graph shows how oxygen demand continues to rise as power increases, but oxygen uptake levels off after a certain amount. That point where uptake starts to flatten is where I'm reaching my aerobic ceiling, the maximum amount of oxygen my body can use efficiently. Beyond this, the muscles still need more oxygen, but they can't get it fast enough, so the body starts relying more on anaerobic energy pathways to keep producing power. The next graph shows lactate behavior, how it's produced, cleared, and when it starts to build up. At low intensities, recovery keeps up easily, but once power increases, lactate begins to accumulate faster than it can be cleared. The point where those lines cross marks my anaerobic threshold, the balance between sustainable and unsustainable work. The last graph shows fat and carbohydrate combustion. The green line represents fat use, which peaks out around my fat max and then starts to decrease, showing where I'm burning the most amount of fat. As power increases, the orange line rises, showing a shift towards carbohydrate use, a faster but more limited fuel source that's hard to sustain.